Well, I started about 2 years ago working with NexJ when I joined ANZ New Zealand as part of the rollout of Mercury, which is our name for the NexJ system. When I arrived in the business, they were at the point of rollout, so it was an interesting challenge for me just to understand exactly what the business had been looking for when it decided to go with NexJ and with a CRM. So I think there's two ways of thinking about what the business was looking for. It had some quite specific requirements, things that it wanted to do around managing the pipeline and getting visibility of that. It wanted to replace some old legacy systems that were kind of falling into the risk category, so that was another business objective. Getting a better sense of the interaction points with the customer was on there as well. And I think there were a bunch of specific objectives, but below that there were some more, I guess, horizontal objectives around really driving more transparency through the business so that everybody could see everything about the customer and start building that whole one customer view. There was some objectives around better collaboration, enabling the business and the different parts of it to collaborate more effectively to deliver customer outcomes. And there was probably an additional objective around accountability, just being clearer about who was accountable for delivering each element of the customer experience. And I think we've solved a lot of those specific needs and delivered those, but those underlying needs, the transparency, the collaboration and the accountability are the kind of ongoing themes as we enhance Mercury and move forward. Let's start with its functions. Essentially our core CRM functions. It enables us to track the pipeline. It provides basic information, in fact more than basic information about each of the customers and their current facilities. It enables users to track tasks that they're working on for those customers and any interactions with those customers. It provides lead management, event management, a whole lot of things. And I think one of the interesting elements of working with the CRM is that you've got different user groups and they all have slightly different bits of the system they want to work with. So, for example, the front line are very interested in the deal pipeline and managing that, whereas for our middle office people, they don't use the deal pipeline very much. They're more looking at the tasks and the interactions. So we have a lot of people who use the system now, a lot of different roles. The primary ones remain our relationship managers, our relationship associates and our relationship services managers. But what we've seen is a whole lot of people who are getting interested in the system now that it's up and running and more information is going into it. So we have product specialists who look at it, our risk teams look at it, and our managers look at it as well. It's delivered to those core basic needs around managing the pipeline and capturing the customer interactions. And it's helped with a few other things that we possibly didn't expect in terms of how we manage the tasks within our customer-facing teams. So it's been really, for me, a very interesting process, and I was new to banking, just to see how the organisation was leveraging the CRM and which parts they were keen on and which parts we've got to do a bit more work to get lined up with the way the business actually operates. Adoption is an interesting concept, and it, I think, can often be driven down to quite a numerical basis and just quantitative how many people are accessing the system, and that's important, and we absolutely track those statistics. But I also think it's important to view adoption from a qualitative perspective as well, because it's not just are people putting things into the system, are they accessing it, which is all stuff I can pull out from the back end, but it's the quality of the data that's going in. So it's important to me that when we think about adoption, we don't just think about numbers, but that we're also thinking about the quality of information that's going into the system and that's being leveraged. So we absolutely track the numbers and we roll those out to the regional managers and the champions to try and identify problem children. But we've done a survey to try and see what bits the users like and what bits the users don't like to try and drive adoption that way. And I think fundamentally we try to build the CRM into the business processes. So a CRM doesn't exist just to be a CRM. Organisations don't have CRMs just to have a CRM, they have a CRM to help them deliver their business objectives. So we're always on the lookout for opportunities to use the CRM to help deliver a business outcome. And when we've been able to do that, it just makes Mercury part of the way things are done rather than just some sort of compliance tool that I have to fill out. In some ways, the key tip is that I don't have any tips for other teams, because I think the key thing is to be very aware of your own organization's context. A CRM is a system, but it's a part of a broader customer relationship management ecosystem. So you've got, for sure, the technology, but you've also got to be aware of your processes and very much your culture. Because CRMs, I think, are one of the things I like about working on a CRM is that it is very much an organizational litmus test. And if you try to put a CRM in, or when you're rolling it out, you will find out what your organization's culture is like, and you will find out the state of its processes. And that's what you need to be aware of. So I guess my only tip would be just don't just focus on the system's features. Think about the processes and how you weave the system into that, and think about the culture.